The following episode of the Maui Chamber of Commerce's Business Matters was originally broadcast on January 9th, 2024.
It's time now for Business Matters, brought to you by Mokulele Airlines. Now here's your host, Pam Tumpop. Good morning, Pam. How are you today?
I'm great, Gary. How are you?
A little wet.
Seems like our whole island got covered last night, didn't it?
Yes, it did.
And do you have any news on Molokai with the, it didn't sound like the tornado hit, I'm hoping.
I have not heard anything about that. I watched the news this morning, and I didn't see anything, and I haven't heard any press releases here or anything, so.
Okay, well, fingers crossed.
Yes.
They're in our hearts and prayers,
Right.
And I know that they were really looking at a lot of crazy thunderstorms, too, so.
I do know later on, during when we take the break from Mokulele Airlines, we're going to have a pre-recorded thing about school closures today.
Okay, well, that's going to be important.
Yes.
If we need to take time during the show, we can also do a little bit of that, too.
Okay.
So
I'll let you know.
Just if there's any breaking news.
Okay.
We really appreciate that. Well, welcome, everybody. First of all, we just want to always thank Gary, who helps produce the show, and really appreciate all the work that he does there at the station to keep us on and get to share our news with our members and the community at large. And just hope all of you are doing well on this very rainy day. But welcome to Business Matters. I'm Pamela Timbot, president of the Maui Chamber of Commerce, and we are so pleased to have this show sponsored by Mokulele Airlines. Today we're going to talk to two dynamic women-owned small businesses. We're going to talk to Kristina Mekdeci of Maui, Hali'a, and Dr. Sonia Gupta, who is a dentist and the creator of AlohaBrite. But we're going to start off this morning with Kristina. Kristina Mekdeci is an artist who is very talented. She graduated with a degree in fine arts and marketing from the University of Central Florida. After she graduated, she worked as a mural artist for Walt Disney and Nickelodeon Studios, and then expanded her commercial art career by working as a graphic artist and marketing director at Florida Today News and WB18 WKCF Television. After leaving the corporate world of art, Kristina spent 23 years with the Department of Education as an art teacher as well. She created many instructional videos for her students, which you can now watch on her YouTube channel, which is, it's Create with Kristina, but I'm going to spell it K-R-E, the number 8, with Kristina, K-R-I-S-T-I-N-A. Kristina has a passion for surfing, which inspires, her Maui Hali'a series. Maui Hali'a means Maui memories, and her connection with Mother Ocean's sea life and amazing Hawaiian sunsets influenced her creativity. In 2011, she became a certified quantum healing hypnotherapist and works with clients who seek hypnosis and other healing modalities. Her studies in hypnotherapy inspire her Warrior Women of the World and Quantum Awakening series. So we're going to talk about all of these because I'm just fascinated to learn more about these inspirations and how these series have been formed and have her describe them for us. Kristina's bright, bold colors and stylized paintings awaken a sense of happiness in the viewer. She hopes her artwork brings the joy of this tropical paradise to your home. So let's welcome Kristina Mekdeci. Good morning, Kristina. How are you?
Good morning. I'm also wet. It's, how it is when it rains in Kihei. We're not used to it. We're like, what is this? But I'm doing good. Thank you for having me on the show.
Oh, we're so grateful to have you on the show. I appreciate that you could come back this week. Last week we went a little long with our council chair, Alice Lee. It was great information to have, and And we just kind of ran out of time. I apologize. That was my fault. But we're so glad that you could join us this week. And I'm so excited really to learn more about your art and your background because you're such an inspiration. There's so many ways that you are working to uplift people and uplift their lives. So let's start with the variety of art styles out there. And, you've worked in so many different things. What would you say, tell us a little bit about the variety of art styles, and what would you say is your favorite style of art?
So, of course, working in the fields that I worked in, when you worked for Disney and Nickelodeon, you're pretty much told what to paint, and you paint it. And because of my training as an artist in the University of Central Florida, I was able to take those skills and just pretty much paint what I was told to paint. Though over the years, I feel there were some influences for my art, and those influences came from my surfing and some of my favorite artists, two of which live here in Hawaii. Heather Brown and Colin Wilcox really inspired my paintings. And then, of course, Drew Brophy. And I had a chance to, back when I was a competitive surfer, I sponsored a surf line. When I was there, I'd go to the Surf Expo, and I had a chance to see Drew Brophy as he was illustrating his waves and the surfing style. So, I never thought I would do my art full-time. I think I always wanted to be a full-time fine artist, selling my own artwork. But when you've been working for so many years in television and commercial art, and people tell you what to do, and you kind of just listen, and you're like, okay, no problem. I will take your ideas and make them into what you want. You have to learn what your style is. And so over the years, just watching Heather Brown's success and Colleen Wilcox and Drew Brophy, I feel my style kind of blends them together. I love the waves that Drew Brophy does. I love the way that Colleen Wilcox, she paints with acrylics, but the way it flows and blends, it almost looks like it's watercolor. And then the unity and the strong, bold lines that Heather Brown uses. So to me, those are my favorite artists. And that's what helped my artwork become very stylized with the bold colors and the black lines, and it's because of them that I kind of created my style.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating to hear you talk about just different elements of each of those artists.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of what you picked out from them to influence your style.
I feel that
go ahead.
Well, every artist, I think, even from the beginning of time, has always been influenced by other artists, to create their own style.
Yeah. Yeah. I wish, I hope to get there one day. I am not an artist, but I'm just learning how to dabble in painting. I find it relaxing.
Absolutely.
And nothing I would hang on the wall, but one day maybe. But no, I agree. I think, as I even think about what to paint, I'm looking at what somebody else did and trying to get a sense of that.
And there's a strong, during my years of teaching, I realized just the importance of art and art therapy. And so as I was working with, young students, especially the high school level, I did a lot of art therapy. I, was privileged enough to be able to bring in a lot of the psychological benefits of art while I was in the school system. And I tried to explain to them, it doesn't matter what it looks like. It's, what you're getting out of this. And I said, some of you will throw this away, some of you will save this, but it was the process. And so it's the process of creating the artwork that really is what, is being an artist. Yes, you end up with something maybe that you put on the wall or you don't put on the wall, but that's not what it's about. It's really, getting your hands moving those colors around, seeing what really inspires you. How do you want it to look? Going back and forth and looking at it. Is it done? Is it not done? And it's almost the great thing about, diving into art, which I found the same thing for me for surfing, is that you don't think about anything else. When I'm surfing, I'm surfing. Actually, sometimes when I'm surfing, I'm thinking about what I want to paint. So, but when I'm painting, I'm always just painting, and it's great. It really allows me to get out of my head and not worry about the world. You almost get into your own little private fantasy life in your head.
Yeah, I do. It's so relaxing, really. I
Uh-huh.
mean, it's intriguing to me because, like you said, as you watch the paint kind of move, there's things that I think, okay, well, I did a stroke, and oh, look what happened with that. you know,
Right.
okay, maybe if
You've
I
heard
twist
the
the brush a
sign,
little
if
bit.
you mess it up, this is the saying, if you mess it up, dress it up, and some of the best artwork comes from mistakes. One of my most popular paintings right now, which is on a towel, it's called the whale tail towel. And if you look at it, it looks like I painted little teeny fish that you could kind of see in the background of the wave. And it was just a mistake. I just dropped some paint there, and I'm like, well, what are we going to do about this? And you learn to be creative. And I think what that does for you is helps you become higher level thinkers and problem solvers. And so it's really surprising for me, for as many years as I've been in education, where and why it was ever considered to take art out of education, because it's so powerful, and so many studies show that it helps higher level thinking, it helps problem solving, it helps relaxation, it helps kids that have, when I worked back in the day, and kids were put in self-contained classes because maybe they had disabilities, and I would work with them in the art. The next thing you know, they're testing out of those classes because they have the confidence through the art to do better in schoolwork. And so, I mean, I spent a lot of years in education, and I was really, climbing up that hill to make a difference in education through the arts. And I think for a lot of students, I did. But the system itself it's a tough one to get around, as we all know. And I did as much as I could. And while I miss sometimes teaching the kids, I do love the fact that I stepped out 19 months ago to do my own thing and share my artwork with the world. And so you know, it's a change of career, but kind of still within the same realm of what I am. I'm an artist. And yeah, I guess that's kind of just what I can say about the benefits of art.
Well, I love that, and I'll be honest with you. There's so many different types of art and ways to do art, and so many different tools that really aren't that expensive, to be honest with you, in terms of school supplies and things. I really hope, and maybe now's a good time, and this is, we're going to be looking at the legislative session. Art is also very healing and soothing, as you know. And, Gary, we can hear you a little bit in the background. I don't know if you can hear us. And anyway, it's just such a tool that I think is needed right now. It's something that I know different groups, including us, were requesting for some of the donors art supplies to get to these kids impacted by the wildfires, to give them an outlet and an opportunity for expression. So we'll make that a point. I'm making a mental note in our advocacy in education this year to look at bringing that back in a bigger way. You've done big things too. I mean, mural paintings. Tell us a little bit about putting those together and painting on such a grand scale. I'm always fascinated to watch people paint, these whole walls and try and think, how many times do you have to step off that ladder and step back to kind of get that just right? And then I'd love to learn more about your art videos.
Okay. What was great so I had just finished my degree in art, or I was at the end of my degree at the University of Central Florida. And I was working in a hotel. I kind of had this idea of going into hotel work, maybe permanently. Somehow my art business card got stuck on a wall somewhere. I still don't know to this day how it happened. And I received a call. I received a call from a woman. She's like, I found your business card. It was called Mekdeci's Green because, bringing in just the light of all nature. And I was doing graphic arts too for people, promotional business cards, if you needed any kind of advertisement or graphics or logos, I was doing that. So mysteriously, this card ended up in a paint shop that I've never been to. The woman found it. She took it down. She called me. She said, are you interested in doing mural painting? I have contracted work for Disney. Now, this is way back in the early 90s, before we had those machines, which we all know can reproduce any kind of artwork on large scales, like billboards. I mean, For the young people out there, you don't know this, but billboards used to be painted by hand. Like someone got up there and painted all these big, amazing, advertisements that you would see, especially in Florida. And so I went in and she pretty much trained me. And what we did was we painted what would be a mural that would go in front of the stores that were being worked on or being open, but they were still doing construction in the background and across Disney World. Or I always forget whether Disney World is Florida and Disneyland, whichever one is in Florida, because I mix them up. So
Disney World, you're right.
Disney World. So
I grew up in California in my early years, so I know Disneyland.
Okay, good. Good. They're both the same place, but not, right? So we got to painting, and it was great because I had to use a scaffolding, and I've never done that before, but they were 2 stories high and about maybe 10, sometimes 15 feet wide. And there were so many skills that I had to learn because we were painting the same image. And the idea was you had to learn how to map it out. You never used projectors. You just knew where everything was and how to, take a small image and make it into a huge image and keep it proportionally correct. I learned how to use chalk lines. And the better I got at it, the more money I made because I was being paid per mural painting. So it was one of the, I've had few experiences in my life that have just been like, I could die right now. This is great. And this was one of them. I would work 4 10-hour days and I would just do nothing but paint. I had, my khaki pants on and I would sit back and just look at this a massive painting that I did. And the quicker I got at it, the more money I made. Now, this was very successful for maybe a year and a half. And then I also was asked to go into Nickelodeon after hours when Nickelodeon Studios was in Florida. And it was great because that's what I'll explain why they left Florida, but I would go in at nighttime and in the 90s making $25 an hour was a lot of money. And I would just faux finish, touch up the backdrops and have a chance to kind of be behind the scenes on a lot of these TV shows that people were watching at the time. It all kind of came to a stop. About the same time, I decided I want to move to Hawaii from the first time in my life, which is 97. And it came to a stop because the tax breaks that these companies were getting in Florida suddenly were not benefiting the companies. So all of a sudden they said, we're out of here. I don't know where they moved, but I'm sure they moved to a different state where they could get the tax breaks. And at the same time, I was kind of really interested in moving to Hawaii for the first time because I was just so surfing all the time and I loved surfing and I wanted to surf better waves. So it was a great experience. It taught me a lot, but it didn't last. I always thought, how long would it have lasted if I stayed there? And knowing what I know now about this having to relocate, I realized that it was almost good that I made the decision to move to Hawaii in 1997 for the first time.
Wow, that's amazing. And you bring up a point that's really pertinent right now, which is we are all looking at how to, recover from the wildfires, but also diversify our economy. And film and television has long been an industry we've sought. And it's one of those things to hear about the Nickelodeon tax breaks. It's one of the things I frequently educate lawmakers on, which they know. Because to get those kinds of companies, you're competing with other states. Yeah. And the type of business-friendly environment, the type of local incentives you can provide really helps generate a, big industry that can provide what we talk about in terms of STEM skills and higher paying jobs and diversity in jobs. And so for an artist community, this is sort of a logical thing for us as another avenue for us. So I'm glad that you brought up the loss of the tax breaks because I didn't know that story.
Yeah, and it happens so often. And I mean, I know I mentioned this, it's kind of off topic, but still relevant to Maui. I was on the hemp committee in 2016, and we really had this idea that hemp would be grown in all the unused sugar fields. Then we would do vertical farming, and we would take that hemp, because obviously we know the first crops for 7 years might have been used to clean up the land. And then that hemp could have been used for clothing and paper. And, it would have been massive industries that could have been on the island, bringing lots of clever people and great employees and more workers. And it just, I don't know what happened. It kind of just came to a standstill. And now, I mean, if we want to bring it up now, we're looking at the old sugar mill and what to do with that. And you've asked, I think, and the questions, what would you like to see to help Maui? And I would love to see right now, especially with all the artists that no longer have homes or art studios, to consider looking at that sugar plant, the sugar mill as a huge artist co-op with art studios and galleries, and just somewhere where people would know, let's stop by, let's learn about the history of what growing sugar did, the benefits and the the negative, the good and the bad from sugar on this island, and let's see how that can be changed to where we learn from the history, learn about what happened here, the Hawaiian culture in Maui, but also you always have to have a reason to bring people in, whether like they can see art, they can eat great food, they could have just an experience that it would be one of a kind, because I don't know of anyone in the world that's changed a sugar plantation mill into an artist co-op with galleries and educational locations. Maybe there has been, but I don't think there has been.
I don't know. I can't point to any either, but I can certainly point to when you take old manufacturing mills, and across the country, people have done this type of concept, which is really great, where you've got makers and artists together, and it's just such a fascinating mashup that really attracts a lot of people. Many cities do this, bigger cities, and it's a great way to repurpose an old building that has had unique, had very unique attributes.
Yeah,
still stands and can be honored and repurposed. I think, you and I talked a little bit about this, and we're going to continue to, because I think it's these kinds of ideas that are great ideas. And
I mean, it's unfortunate, right, that it takes a fire to really push us into thinking outside of the box, because, I mean, no one wants tragedy, but at this time, let's take this opportunity to think, okay, what can we do with what we have here, the land we have here, the buildings that are not being used? How can we make this beneficial? How can we get the tourists back on the island? And, and maybe they can't go to Lahaina right now. Okay, let's try to build something quickly that they can come and visit, and they want to learn about, Hawaii and what happened on Maui, and get the history of it, and then see some amazing artists and eat some great food, So yeah, I've had a chance to work on some of these before in Florida. One of my favorite things I did was called Robot Love, and we took about 6,000 square feet of unused rental property, commercial rental property. So it would have been a movie theater, maybe a Hallmark store. It would have been a Ross or something. We gutted it. We had one room that was just for artwork, and we built everything from the ground up, everything that we hung the artwork on. And then you came into another room. It was a little hallway, and we turned it into the Louvre, and we painted it black, and we put artwork up and down the walls. And then you came into another room where it was all sculptures. And then into another room where the back of it, we built a skate ramp, and we had a stage. And I was in charge of all the marketing and advertising, and I got kids to help work, help build, the structures, to help build the skate ramp. And I was able to get Sector 9 out there. I was able to help promote with all the radio stations and all the newspapers that we had. And it took us 3 months to build this out. It was an amazing thing to work on. And then it was 7 days that we were open. And like anything where you're young and motivated and doing something different in a town, every night we had an issue with the county trying to close us down. And yet every night we were successfully able to open up. And I remember the moment when I just knew this was such a success. And again, I could have died and gone to heaven. We didn't have enough staff, and we had our B-boy competition going on the stage. And then we had Siliquist of Sound, which was an awesome band from New York City that came down. And one of the guys, there were 4 other guys that worked on it plus me, and he said, we need lighting. Can you go up there and do lighting? I'm like, no problem. I still have a picture of myself. I took a selfie of myself with this giant, stage light that I've never worked before, just kind of guiding it to be on the b-boy dancers as they were competing. And I thought, this is it. Once you've seen something go from nothing to this amazing event, you're just in heaven. You're like, I've accomplished it. And it was, if you want to see videos of it, besides going to my website, you just look up Robot Love V like Victor 2, and they're still on the internet. This was back before videos got really good. This was way, again in the 90s, but very awesome. It was a very awesome experience to be part of that.
That is so cool. Well, that's a good segue into your educational art videos that you're putting out. Tell people a little bit about those.
That was a blessing. It's just another thing that kind of fell into my lap because of COVID, of all things. When I had moved back to Maui, I was like, okay, I'm not going to teach for a while. I wanted to get out of it. And I went to Akaku. We all know that station is right here. And I learned how to do video editing. And I thought, I'm going to help promote artists, authors, and healers on the island. And I was kind of doing that. There were a few old videos where I was interviewing like Kathleen McCandless, who has Feng Shui for Life, just amazing people. And I was doing that for a little while. Then I kind of stumbled back into education again. But not a bad thing. It was okay. It worked perfectly because I was teaching art once again. Then a few years into that, the next thing you know, COVID hits. Then we were doing remote learning. Well, how do you teach art remotely? And I talked to my principal. I love her, Hali'a Maxwell. She is now the principal of, is it Hakoi? Our new high school, and I've got to remember how to say the name correctly. She said, would you make these art videos? I was like, no problem. And what I did was, considering the age group at the time was kindergarten through sixth grade, sixth grade, I made sure that every art video would bring in the curriculum that they were doing at the time. So with first grade, we made sure we learned shapes and colors and how shapes and colors worked in that age group, kindergarten and first. Then we'd move on to second grade, where we're learning about line and texture. Then third and fourth grade, well, I'm getting really creative now. I'm going to teach them art, but I'm also going to teach them about what they're learning about South America and Peru. And then when they learn about Hawaiian studies, we're going to talk about Hali'a. We're going to talk about the Maui water rights. So I was able to bring in educational factors into the art lessons with them, and they would use this at home. And knowing that most kids didn't have the money at the time or the funds to go buy art supplies, they could do it with crayons, markers, and paper. And that's all they needed. So I was also very cautious of, what was happening at the time, because COVID really put a lot of people out of work. And so I made a whole series of these. It's awesome. I would love to be able to continue to make more of those. But right now at the time, I'm running an art business too, and it's a lot to take on. And I know the time will come again where I can do these videos again, and they were quite successful. So they're still available for, I say, any age group, because even to this day, high school students love doing any of the projects that I had made for, elementary school students. And even if you're just not good at art and you want to watch these great videos where I was able to animate myself and make these little moving graphic characters, pretty much from scratch. A lot of this I taught myself how to do. And so they're on the channel that you mentioned, Create with Kristina, K-R-E, the number 8, and then my name, Kristina. And they're free to watch and enjoy. But I think I did that for about 2 years, very successfully.
That's fantastic. I know you've also been using your artistic talent to help in fundraising for those impacted by the fires. Can you talk a little bit about the pieces that you're creating and where people can find these for sale and how they can contribute?
Sure. After the fires, I had 5 shops that carried my artwork, and I was, to only be 9 months into this career and have 5 shops willing to support me and my art, and then also having artwork in the Lahaina Art Society, I was very happy. I was very proud. And so it was sad for me, obviously financially, to see those shops go, but also sad because I made relationships with those owners of the shops, and I really loved them. So it took, when the fire started, first I think I was in denial because I was working in Lahaina Luna when the first fire came in 2016, and you just got out of town and everything was safe. It got close to the school, if you remember, but we were all good. So when my friend called me and said there was a fire, I go, yeah, I understand. There's always fires in Lahaina. She goes, no, it's Armageddon. And I was like, what? And so when I realized just what had happened, it was hard for me to deal with it for at least a week or two. And the only thing that I could think to do was to paint to heal from this. And so I started painting. And the first painting I did was easy. It was Front Street. I could paint that because I remember what it looked like. It was just as if you were standing at the library looking out from the water back at the shops. And then the second painting I decided to do was Front Street with the fires behind it. And that painting was difficult, but I feel that when you're going through emotional pain, you have to push through it. And I cried and I got angry and I was feeling all sorts of emotions. And when you see this painting, it is Front Street in gray, and then it's the fires in the background like we saw when we saw the news coverage. And, it was very hard to believe. It was almost like watching a movie because you couldn't believe this is really actually happening. And then on both of those paintings, kind of like before and then after the fire, kind of the sequence, I guess, I put Lahaina Strong in the bottom and, kind of in the waves so that we could remember that we're gonna somehow build back and be stronger. So the next painting I did was Lahaina Harbor, the boat ramp, and mainly because I used to surf there. When I lived in 1997, when I lived there, I lived right across the street from Shark Pit. I would bike up to Lahaina Harbor and I'd go surfing. And then certainly the Pioneer Inn was important to me. And that painting has the Pioneer Inn, and then it has a Wahine hula dancer coming through, and she's almost blocking the fires and bringing back the vai, the water. Because as we all remember, and we know, especially when I taught these kids what has happened with the water in Maui, the water has been diverted for a long time, and truly Lahaina should have been lush and jungle. And so that painting was kind of my hopes for the future in Lahaina, to bring back the water, to bring back the vai into the way it was, so that nothing like this can ever happen again. Those, and I'm going to do some more, but those four were pretty challenging to paint, and I got them done. And though it doesn't look exactly like the style I'm doing with Maui Hali'a, it's still very powerful. And I decided to turn one of them into a microfiber towel. And with that towel, I have been taking $5 of each towel and donating it to Maui fire victims. I also took 4 months and donated 10% of my sales, and even created a sticker that says, Aloha, Maui is fireproof, to mean love is fireproof. No matter what happens, we're still strong, we're still here for each other, we still love each other, and we're going to get through this. And with the help of Ron Ponzo, I love that man. He, obviously owns Nalu's. He helped me raise in 4 months $2,200 to give to the Maui fire victims. And I know that's just a fraction of the amount of money that's been raised, but it does feel good, for me, considering that, yeah, I'm still doing my best to make ends meet also. But I'm very happy that it worked out. And so those paintings, I should go over, if you want to know where all my work is available, let me go through the places that have
we've got about 30 seconds, so I'm going to have you tell us where we can find all of your beautiful art.
Okay, so I'm looking for, one is Waimea Blue Gallery, and that's the North Shore of Oahu. Then we have North Shore Wind and Surf, also on Oahu. Maui Ocean Center has my artwork right now. Along with that, Sand and Sea in Paia has my art products. Home Hawaii Design at the furniture store next to Macy's has my artwork and art products. And I'm hoping right now those are the only places right now, but I'm hoping as we get back, and Lahaina's rebuilt, that those stores will once again contact me. And there's a local website coming up from local residents here called Digital Vision. So keep an eye out for that. That's going to help also promote local art here in Maui. And then I'm at the swap meet every Saturday. You can always find me at Kahului Maui Swap Meet.
Fantastic. Kristina, thank you so much for joining us and sharing all of these amazing stories.
Thank you.
What an amazing life you live.
I know, it's pretty exciting.
It is. It's really exciting. Well, thank you so much. I wish you a beautiful Maui day, and we hope the sun starts coming out sometime soon. But we need the rain. We need the water. So we're happy with the rain soon.
Aloha, Pam.
To you. Aloha. Okay, we're going to be right back. We're going to take a quick moment to hear from our sponsor, Mokulele Airlines.
Mokulele Airlines operates the largest commuter airline hub in the country, right here in Kahului. Fly Mokulele from Kahului to Molokai, Lanai, Hana, Waimea, Kona, and now Hilo. Mokulele also operates the only flights between Kapalua and Honolulu. There is never a middle seat on Mokulele, and every seat has a window and aisle. Visit mokuleleairlines.com and take your next flight from the newly renovated Mokulele Terminal.
All right, welcome back to Business Matters. Did you get all that information, Pam? You got it memorized?
That went really quick, but I got don't go on Talkehe Road. Just don't.
Just don't.
And most of the schools are going to be closed.
Right.
So I'm glad you shared that with everybody during this drive time and as people are getting ready for work.
Okay, back to you.
Thank you so much. Well, we are so excited to have Dr. Sonia Gupta, who is a dentist and creator of AlohaBrite. She is a UC Berkeley graduate, was on the dean's list the first 2 years as a chemical engineering student. She graduated with a dual degree in biology and economics. She also attended UCSF Dental School and became a doctor of dental surgery, so DDS. Currently, she is a dentist at Maui Memorial Hospital and at Maui Dental Group. And she followed her parents' footsteps in becoming an entrepreneur. And, after attending college, she created the product that we know today and had at our 10th annual Made in Maui County Festival, known as AlohaBrite dental care line. So it's so great to have Dr. Sonia Gupta with us today.
Thank you so much.
It's so great to hear you. I'm going to see if Gary can turn you up just a little bit so we can hear you just a little bit more. So, Sonia, you are an amazing dentist. You have such a bright spirit, and I just love that you created AlohaBrite as a dental care product. Tell us a little bit about how you got that started.
Sure. So it really started during the pandemic and when I became a mother. I had a baby, and I'd remembered working all these years in the hospital as a hospital dentist, and I saw so many babies with cavities, and I was just adamant that my baby would not have a cavity ever. So I wanted to create something for him that was safe and not filled with additives, what I call badditives, fillers and toxic chemicals. And then that's kind of how things got started. And then I made these little, what I call swipes. So they're a biodegradable gauze that I have specially manufactured, so there's no plastic in it. And I made a formula to add to the swipe to help keep the teeth strong and clean the teeth on the go without using plastic. So I just wrapped them around my finger, cleaned the baby's gums, and then when he got teeth, started cleaning his teeth with them, and he loves them. And he knows if he wants to ask me for a cookie, he knows he has to say, "Don't worry, Mommy, I'll grab a swipe after." And now they're in his lunchbox at school, and after school lunches, he knows to grab a swipe and swipe his teeth off. And they have coconut oil and calcium phosphate minerals to help keep the teeth strong.
That's amazing. And are the wipes only for children, or are they good for adults as well?
Well, it's funny. So I had a friend who was a flight attendant that said, I love these. Can you add some peppermint to them to make them like a fresh breath? I said, oh, I never thought of that. Sure. So that's kind of where it got started as a business, because then all my friends wanted them and it just grew from there. But yeah, so there's a version with peppermint oil and then one without, with the coconut oil. We call it the coconut Hali'a flavor for kids, and people use them for their pets and their animals. And yeah, it's been just so great and so much fun. A lot of flight attendants and people on the airlines have been using them, and parents for their children. So it's really nice to see people thinking about their teeth more and their oral health. And the nanohydroxyapatite was a big thing, because it's kind of a buzzword right now, but it has those minerals, calcium phosphate in it, to help keep the teeth strong.
That's amazing. And then you even mentioned pets, and I know a lot of people who are buying these greenies to, these things for their dogs to chew on. So, but they can also use these great wipes.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yeah. As long as their pets don't bite them, because you do have to wrap them around your finger to swipe with them.
Yeah, you kind of have to rub it around. Yeah, absolutely. And then the other thing is that from there, you've also created this cute little kit that you sell with a toothbrush and other items to really help improve people's oral health.
Yeah, so when my little one started getting his teeth, I wanted to create a biodegradable floss. So that's where the floss came from. And it's in a cute little bamboo case. We call it Aloha Floss. And the toothpaste, actually, I started creating that as a kid, because I used to break out in canker sores, aphthous ulcers.
Oh.
So I had to make my own toothpaste since I was a kid. And I just researched it. And I remember my parents had said they brushed their teeth with like a twig, an antiseptic twig from a tree branch in India. So I remembered, you don't really need all this stuff in toothpaste. You can brush your teeth with cleaner ingredients.
Oh, yeah. That's very cool. And you've got, you're making sure that your products are additive free, and you're addressing different ways to make them more beneficial. Talk to us a little bit about how you're creating all these things with different formulations that take them to a different level in terms of tooth care and.
Yeah, sure. So the R&D, the research and development, is nonstop. I thought, you come up with your formula and you're done, but it's kind of a never-ending process. So based on my customers' feedback, I'm just constantly redesigning, redeveloping the formula to make it perfect. But yeah, so I didn't want to use any additives and toxic chemicals or things like triclosan or sulfates. And now people are commonly using like coke oil glutamate, which is still a sulfate. It's like, we call it a surfactant, but it's really just like soap. And you really don't need soap in your toothpaste. It's just abrasive for the mucosa. And when I was a professor at UCSF Dental School in San Francisco, I just remember patients with oral cancer or any kind of other oral lesions, the sulfates would really aggravate those lesions. So we would often tell them just to use baking soda and water, or just simple formulas for their toothpaste. So really the most important thing is to keep it simple. I don't think you really necessarily even need toothpaste. I think it's more our diet has become so filled with sugars that we're acquiring all these extra elements to boost our oral health and keep our saliva alkaline, keep the pH higher, so that's not as acidic. But I think a lot of it starts with the diet. So I've just been trying to formulate different formulas that keep it really simple we really don't need glycerin. Most toothpaste tubes, if you look at the first ingredient, it's usually glycerin, which means that's the majority of the tube. It's glycerin. And I wanted the majority of my formula to be things that are actually beneficial and therapeutic, which are calcium and phosphate and what we call nanohydroxyapatite. And we add a little bit of coconut oil. In one version, we have peppermint oil, which is a natural antibacterial. So I've just been trying to keep it simple. But, by trying to keep it simple, it really complicates the formula. So every day I'm working to recreate and improve the formula so it stays fresh and helps keep everything clean and nice for the teeth. And the awesome thing with the formula is that it naturally whitens the teeth also. So the hydroxyapatite actually grows new enamel crystals. You can think of it like new little minerals in your teeth, and those minerals are whiter than the other minerals in your teeth. And so it naturally makes your teeth whiter without any bleach or anything toxic.
I will say you have the brightest smile I have ever seen. Yes, I mean that very sincerely. I mean that very sincerely. You have a big, bright smile and very white teeth. So it sounds like also some of the best advice for healthy teeth is not only using these amazing products, but lowering sugar in our diet.
Yeah, sugar and acidic things. Even like if I have my little one pH test anything that he wants to drink. We have a strip of pH strips, and he knows that if he wants to drink something, he has to test the pH. And if it's acidic, I usually don't let him drink it, right? Just let him drink a little bit of it, because cavities start when they're attacked by acid. So if you test things like juice or all these not mineral water, sparkling waters and soda with zero sugar, usually they're still very acidic. So they're still not great for the teeth. And lemon water is so great for the body, but it's also very acidic. So it can erode the teeth. So I think just keeping in mind after, like our products are Akamai coffee, and they sell so well there because after drinking coffee, people think of drinking water and swiping their teeth off to prevent the coffee stains. So just thinking about getting those acids and sugars off your teeth are super important. And if you can avoid it, that would be great too.
Yes, that's awesome. An ounce of prevention, but also amazing tools to help so that, those things that you love, you can still do. And then you've got these tools to help you. Tell us a little bit about, your travel experiences abroad and how those experiences have influenced your life, influenced your products and your development.
Well, I think, it started with my home. Traveling abroad was really in my home because my parents are from India. So, like, I had never taken a Tylenol as a kid. My mom always had some herb that she gave me or some tea that she gave me or something she rubbed on my stomach made of herbs. So I think learning from her, and she was very entrepreneurial also, like a risk taker. And my dad was a chemical engineer, so we grew up with a chemistry lab in our house. So I think I learned from them just to keep things simple. You don't need to overcomplicate. Of course, there's a place in the world for Western medicine. I understand that. But then going on those missions, we went all over to Kenya, India, Burma, Ecuador. I just saw all of these wonderful people who ate such healthier diets than us. And in many places, like in Africa, they use that mswaki. And in India, where my parents grew up, they never had a cavity and they use something similar. It's called a datun. And they really kept it simple, a simple diet and simple ways of cleaning their teeth with just that twig that was a natural antiseptic with natural antimicrobials. And I remember in Kenya, those people had the strongest enamel and the whitest teeth. And we had done some studies in all of the villages, and there was one village where Coca-Cola had reached the village somehow, and the kids were drinking sodas, and they had so many more cavities than all the other village kids. So I think that's what I took from my travels, was just keeping our lives simple, keeping our diet simple, less refined sugars, less starches, lots more fruits and vegetables, healthy eating, because a lot of these fruits and vegetables are very cleansing for your teeth. So like my little one knows if he has a cookie, I'll eat a carrot after, and that'll clean my teeth, Mommy. So things like that fiber, like sugarcane in India, they eat a lot of sugarcane, and that's actually cleansing for the teeth, even though it has sugar because of all the fiber. So in all of these rural places, they use a lot of herbs, a lot more than I feel like we do in Western culture.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fascinating. That's such a great background for you. And wow, what dynamic parents you have.
Yeah, they're pretty amazing. I love them.
That's awesome.
I call my dad every day. He said, "You're giving me a headache, Sonia," like with all my science questions and my chemistry questions.
Oh my gosh, that's hysterical. Well, we've got a couple of minutes. Can you tell everybody where they can find your product? And again, tell them about your private practice and how they can find you there too.
Oh, yeah, sure. So online, we sell everything AlohaBrite, but it's spelled Aloha, Brite. And then we're at the Wailea Village Farmers Market every Tuesday, 8 to 11 a.m. You can find all of our products there. And we're also at some stores around town. We have a limited supply there, but we're at the Four Seasons Hotel, OO Farms, That's a Wrap in Kihei, Hawaiian Moons, Akamai Coffee, Rodeo General Store, Restivo Plastic Surgery, and Champs Pediatrics. And and then you can come see us at the Wailea Market too. It'd be so nice to see everybody. And then my private practice is called Maui Dental Group. And if you Google Maui Dental Group, or you can text them at 808-633-6931. And we are taking new patients if anybody would like to come see us. And I also do telehealth consultations.
Say that again. I'm sorry, Sonia. Go ahead. Say that again.
Oh, I said I also do telehealth consultations. So if anybody's listening who doesn't live here locally, I'm happy to talk story with anybody.
Fantastic. And where is Maui Dental Group physically located?
We're in Kihei. I've been a hospital-based dentist for about 15 years, so it's actually all the hospitals, all the islands. But when I work in the clinic, it's in Kihei.
Fantastic. Thank you, Gary. Well, Sonia, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for these amazing products that you have made for our community and for others to improve their dental health. I hope everybody gets to meet you. You are a dynamic woman and so fun to talk to and learn from, and we appreciate all you've shared with us today.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be speaking with you today, and thank you for including me in your ohana.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for being a part of our ohana. Blessings and best wishes to you, and aloha for participating. And to all of our listeners today, I hope you've learned a lot about these two amazing entrepreneurs, manufacturers, artists in their world, doing amazing things here in our community. This is going to be, looks like a windy and wet day, but we wish you a wonderful day. Have a great day and take care of people. Bye.